Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial with me, Claris. In this video, we are continuing on in our gouache series, and here's what we've done so far. Starting with the very beginning, I walked you guys through the basics of mixing gouache to get this beautiful gradient effect. We progressed on, and patrons got an exclusive video on how to paint these beautiful, pretty lemons along with some flowers. Prior to all of that, I did a live on my Instagram, and this is what we painted together. And then the second video after our gradient was this one right here, learning how to paint flowers on top of the gradient we painted. And then last week, we took it a step further and we painted on a dossier perfume box. And this was just to spark ideas with you guys. As the holiday season is coming along, why not paint on your gift box? So today we are taking it to the next level, and I am introducing the Princeton Petals Brush. This is what we're going to be using to be painting our gouache subject, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a bit. Before we get into the painting bit, I just wanted to quickly talk about my supplies so you guys can prepare yourselves as well. I'm using my gouache pudding cups, which I purchased off Temu. The closest to this is Himi gouache, or pretty much use any of the other gouache in tubes and such that are available, and that should work just as fine. For my paper, I'm using my Etcher postcards, watercolor postcards, and that looks like this. Feel free to use Canson XL if you have that, or Strathmore, any of the other watercolor style papers. That should be fine as well. And then for our brushes, I'm using my Princeton Petals number 6. I also have a number 10, so I might introduce that. I might not. Let's just see. Before we begin, I just want to remind you guys, please hit that like button and subscribe button if you like videos like this, as it really does help my channel grow. All right, follow me on Facebook and Instagram as well so I can see your beautiful work. Tag me so I can also share it in my stories. All right, so let's begin. We are going to start off with getting a little bit of color, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we're doing. I'm going to make sure you guys have a little bit of a better understanding on how the Princeton Petals Brush works, and we are teaming that with gouache. So I have decided the subject for this is going to be leaves, and because it's autumn/fall, we're going to be using a combination of oranges, pinks, and purples, maybe a little bit of turquoise. We'll see how that goes. So I'm just going to use another brush, a Princeton number 6, and I'm going to start off with getting some of the orange that I have here. So I'm going to go with the dark orange. I'm just getting a nice generous amount, and I'm just going to place that on my shell. Oh, I have water on the side as well, for those who are extremely new to gouache. So we need water to mix the gouache to our liking, or to the consistency that we like. So now that we have the orange, I'm taking my number 6 and I'm going to mix that in. I dip the tip of the brush in water, and there's also a little bit of water on my palette here, so that's perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of, let's see, I'm going to get a little bit of this yellowy orange color right there. I'm just going to mix it with this here, and you'll see where I am headed with this in a bit. Squeeze that out, wash off my brush, and off we go to the races. So I've got my orange. I'm going to make sure that it's nice and pointed, my tip, before I venture on my sheet of paper. And then what I'm doing before we actually get to it is I'm just using the tip of the brush to get a little bit of that yellow on here. And here's what we're doing. So with the pointed tip facing upward and our flat bit of the brush, because it's like a rectangle facing downwards, I'm going to start off by doing a leaf right here. So here's what I'm doing. I'm using the tip, pressing down, and trailing off on the tip And then using the tip again to sort of lightly bring it down to do a stem. I'm going to do this again, getting a little bit more color, trying to get a little bit more of that yellow on the tip of my brush. We're going to create another leaf on this side. So using the tip, pressing down, really trailing off on lightly on the tip to give us that nice gradual thin at the top, thin at the bottom. Thin, pointed at the top, pointed at the bottom is what I'm trying to say. Getting a little bit more. We're going to continue to do a little bit more of this. We're going to do almost like a vine of leaves. I'm going to get a little bit more of that yellow, and what I'll do is get a nice stem protruding this way. I'm just lightly grazing to get that nice thin line. I'm going to get a little bit more of the orange with the yellow, and I'm pressing down, trailing off to exactly where my stem is. So we're going to continue doing a couple of these. I'm actually going to just use the tip of this brush to get some yellow directly from my gouache cup, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, so not really recommended if you don't want like little texturized versions of gouache happening over here. But if you like it, and I don't mind it actually, it might just be a lovely little addition to your artwork. Perfect. I'm going to actually move on to getting some of the other colors involved at this point, just so we don't have too much orange happening. So the next color I'm going to introduce is going to be the pink. Pink, I actually meant the purplish mauvish pink that I had in my selection of gouache colors. So mixed some there. I'm going to get some of that pink on here. I'm going to try and swipe off a little bit of orange. Let's just see how this pans out. Let me push this out of the way. And let's create a couple of leaves in between the orange first. I love how that looks. I'm going to get a little bit more of the orange on my tip. It's a beautiful transition. I'm going to do one sort of flopping over this way, meeting down here. So I got a beautiful transition from the pink into the orange. I'm going to get some more. This time I'm just getting mainly the pink so I can get a nice thick block of pink amidst the orange. And let's get some happening in a stem above. So something like that. And then paint it in. We're literally repeating the same stroke. Feel free to use it twice to get a thicker leaf if you wish, or use it once. It's entirely up to you if you like the thinner leaves. But use this momentum and this subject to sort of help you practice and get a little bit more familiar with gouache, and also to familiarize yourself with what the Petals brush is capable of, which is a lot. Now we're going to move on to a couple of other colors, but you guys get the gist of how this is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a time lapse, and then we'll revert back to see what the end results are. All right, so we're done, and this is what the end result looks like. I went ahead and added some green, actually 2 different variations of green, and I even mixed in a little bit of the orange in some of the green leaves just to sort of really give it that fall, autumn feel. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys had a ton of fun exploring gouache and also getting lots of practice using the petals number 6 by Princeton. A great way to get your practice in while also creating something pretty. And if I didn't mention it before, all the supplies I'm using here are listed in the description below, so please feel free to check that out. And I would love to see your work, so please make sure to tag me on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you share in stories, I am happy to share as well. Keep those messages coming in, and happy painting, guys. We'll chat soon. Bye.